Hi guys! Today I'm 32 weeks pregnant and I just came back from my midwife's appointment and basically everything is really good. The fundal height right now is measuring at 31 centimeters, which is anything from 30 to 34 centimeters would be considered normal at 32 weeks pregnant. And also the baby's basically consistently measuring 1 centimeter behind how many weeks I am. So it's growing consistently. The baby's heartbeat is still 140 beats per minute, and the midwife was actually really surprised at how clear and loud she was able to hear the heartbeats. That was nice to hear, because she uses the Pinard on me, which is the old-fashioned way of listening for the baby's heartbeat. It's basically like a metal horn that they put up against, well, it could be metal or wood or plastic. The one she uses is metal, that they put up against the stomach to hear the baby's heartbeat. It's the same concept as using a cup to listen through a wall if you're trying to listen in on a conversation. Yeah, I don't think I've actually, I feel like I've mentioned it kind of, but I haven't like flat out said it. Basically, like, we're going like bare bones basic on how I've been dealing with my pregnancy. Like, I've you know, refused the use of a Doppler, so that's why she uses the Pinard with me. We've not had any ultrasounds. I declined the whooping cough vaccination, which is basically the DTaP vaccine. I declined a gestational diabetes test. So pretty much the only testing I've had done throughout this pregnancy has been my blood work. I've had done twice so far, and just like the normal blood pressure and urine checks that they do at every appointment, which my blood pressure, she said, was absolutely perfect. It's been fine in every appointment, and my urine has always come up clear as far as, you know, not finding sugars or protein in it. So everything's been going really well. The midwife was able to confirm that baby's head is still down, and it's actually in a really good position right now. So, basically, she said that the baby's head is right at, it's not engaged yet, but it's basically right at the entrance, or it's right where it's supposed to be basically right now, and that my abs are holding it into place so it can't really move around too much to get out of that position. Of course, it's possible, but it can't get out of that position. And it was actually really nice to hear that, because I was worried. If you watched my last update for my pregnancy, I was not feeling well last week, and because I had an infection, and I spent 2 solid days in bed. And I was certain, because I've been doing so much for fetal positioning and keeping my baby in a good position, and I was so worried that those 2 days that I'd spent in bed had caused the baby to go transverse. But it turns out that it's actually in a perfect position still. It's head down, its back is coming along my left-hand side, and then I've got a nice little lump, which is the baby's butt, and then its feet are kind of coming across to this other side, so I'm getting like kicks over here, which is nice as well, because basically the baby's in a really good position, but at the same time, it's not stretched out into my ribs yet, so I'm not getting the rib pains, which I've seen a lot of other people complain about at this time in pregnancy. So yeah, I mean, I've got like 2 good months for baby to decide to stretch out, but yeah, I've only ever felt kicks in my rib once in my entire pregnancy so far, and that was, I think, maybe about a week and a half ago or so, and that was just in the middle of the night when I'd woken up, you know, to go to the toilet, because you do that 1,000 times every night in pregnancy. But yeah, I guess the baby just in that moment had decided to stretch out, because I did feel some kicks in my ribs then, and I was like, oh, baby's in a good position. But then by the time I woke up, the feet were back down here, so it doesn't really seem to like stretching out that much, which is fine with me for now, because the rib pain sounds really horrible, and it's definitely not something I miss. only symptoms I've had this past week really were being tired, and I don't attribute that to the pregnancy. That to me was more attributed to the fact that I wasn't feeling well from the infection, because I had had a fever and I was, you know, getting over that. And the tiredness was also, I think, had a lot to do with the fact that because it was in my teeth, you know, if you've got problems in your teeth, the last thing you want to do is eat. So I wasn't eating as much as I'm used to eating. So I definitely didn't have the same energy levels that I would normally have. Yeah, and you just, you know, I was on antibiotics and just generally feeling unwell. So yeah, really last week my biggest symptom was the tiredness. Oh, and I have had, I've been confused lately because I'm not sure if it's the Braxton Hicks contractions or if it's just the baby stretching out. Part of me feels like it really is the Braxton Hicks contractions, but then another part of me is like, no, it's probably just the baby stretching out. Because the baby's bum is on this side and then its feet are on this side, sometimes I get really tight on the bottom half of my uterus. And because the tightness is so, like, it gets really tight. That's why I feel like sometimes I think maybe it's Braxton Hicks, but I'm not certain if it's Braxton Hicks because, well, if it's Braxton Hicks, it should be my entire uterus, and my uterus is, you know, up here, but the tightness is more from like here down. So that's why I think it's really maybe just the baby kind of stretching across, especially since it's not coming up. Yeah, so I've been getting a lot of tightness in the lower half of my uterus. Not 100% positive if that's just the baby or if it's the contractions, but like I said, I kind of think actually it's the baby. Don't really know. Oh, and I think you might be able to see it in the bump shot, but I've definitely, because I think I didn't mention it the last time, even though I knew it. So I definitely do have stretch marks. It's not, you know, I wasn't sure before if I had stretch marks or not. It definitely is stretch marks. I'm actually, it's kind of weird. It's not that like I was like worried about having stretch marks, but it's kind of funny because I almost feel relieved, like knowing that they're stretch marks. Not that I want stretch marks. I don't think anybody wants them, but I kind of feel like if those are stretch marks, like I feel like that's it. Like that's not so bad. Obviously I have 2 more months, so like I'm sure they'll get worse or I'll get more of them. But yeah, they just come up so faint, and like sometimes they get darker, sometimes they're really faint. I can barely see them, and I kind of feel like, well, with how much they fluctuate right now, by the time I have the baby, like I don't know, I kind of feel like, I don't know, I just don't think they're such a big deal. Like they don't really bother me. So I think, I don't know, people always complain about stretch marks, but seeing what they actually look like, I'm just like, that's not a big deal. So it's a relief knowing that they're stretch marks, not because I want them so much, but just it's like not such a big deal. It doesn't bother me, which is nice, you know, because, you know, I would be an absolute liar if like I wanted to say that stretch marks wouldn't bother me at all, because like if I had like really dark, crazy noticeable ones, like I'm sure it would affect how I feel about my body. I mean, maybe I wouldn't, but I think I probably would. Everyone has a little bit of veinness in them, you know, it's normal, right? Yeah. Oh, we went over my birth plan today as well at the Midwife's, which was really nice. It was really nice, mostly because like 90% of what I had in my birth plan is already routine in this country. And that was just really nice to hear because A, I can simplify my birth plan a lot more, which will enable the things that aren't routine to stand out more, so that I can be like certain that whoever's looking at it doesn't miss those points, because I wouldn't want them to get lost in the, you know, in the rest of the birth plan. Like I'd want to make sure that the things that they don't do routinely that are important to me are done that way if they can be. Yeah, so, and it's just nice in general knowing that most of what I want done is routine in this country, especially because well, I say this country, I'm in the UK for anybody who doesn't know. I live in England. I'm from the US, obviously from my accent. And, you know, pretty much everything that I've put down because I know it's not in the norm in the US. And you would need it on your birth plan if that was your wishes. So it's just nice to know that it's like completely opposite here. It was just, you know, especially because, yes, I have an assigned midwife, but when I go into labor, I could have any of the midwives from the unit show up to birth my baby. So because the continuity in care is not guaranteed, it's nice to know that even if somebody I've never met before delivers my baby, that most of my wishes are routine. So she doesn't have to know me to know that that's what I want. And there's only a few specific points that need to be pointed out that I don't want that done this way. It'll just make it a lot clearer and easy to understand. So that's just really, it's just good to know. And I am going to flash my birth plans really quickly, only because the midwife, basically I did a visual birth plan, and the midwife had said she'd never seen one like that before. I thought they were more common these days, that like I thought more people had, like I would have, basically, I know not everybody does them and people still do written out birth plans, that's fine, but like my midwife has never even seen a visual birth plan before, so this was her first time seeing one. So I guess basically I don't think they're as common as I thought they were. So in case you've never seen a visual birth plan, I'll show you what one looks like, and I'm going to put the link in the description box for where you can get the icons, because they're completely public, free to download, and in my opinion, it just makes for a really easy to read, concise birth plan. Things are less likely to get lost in the mix, because if you hand, in my opinion, do what you want. If you feel more comfortable with a written birth plan, that is absolutely fine. But for me, I feel like having a visual birth plan, it leaves less to be lost in the mix. Like, I can't imagine a doctor or midwife, you know, your OBGYN, like taking the time, or like if you're in a hospital especially and you've got like nurses coming in all the time, like I just can't picture each one taking the time to like read through each individual point that you might have on, like some people have birth plans that could be pages long, but even like a one-page birth plan that's written out, you know, I can't imagine every single person that's coming in attending to you taking the time to read through it and making sure that they're not going to go against any of those wishes. So this is what a visual birth plan looks like. That was my home birth one. And a lot of these, this isn't updated because like I said, I just came back from the midwife's appointment, and a lot of this doesn't even need to be on here. And, you know, there's a lot that I already didn't put on here because I knew I wouldn't have to put it on here, just because, you know, certain things I knew to not expect. Like, I know that if I want to walk around while I'm giving birth, I can walk around. If I want to have alternate birthing positions, I can do whatever the heck I want. You know, there's all sorts of things that I knew didn't have to go on here. So even though it's in my head as part of my birth plan, it didn't need to go on paper. So the only things I put on the paper were things that I thought would need to be addressed with whoever was looking at it, because it's not routine. So like I said, most of these things are routine. Most of this stuff will come out. So at the end of the day, my birth plan is probably going to be just like 5 or 6 icons, and that's it. And it just makes it a lot easier for whoever's looking at it to follow it. And then I had one for my C-section as well. And I will say the icons actually are in color, and I just formatted them to make them black and white. Some people really like the colors. I thought black and white is just a lot easier to read. To me, the colors kind of, they look really pretty. They make the birth plan really nice to look at, but I also thought that it kind of distracts from the actual words on the birth plan, like the actual point of the birth plan. Once again, my opinion, you know, you can keep the colors on, obviously, of course, but that was just my thing, to keep it in black and white and just keep it simple, easy to read. You know, I just want whoever's looking at it to be able to glance at it and know exactly what my wishes are and not have to spend a lot of time. So I did want to bring that up just because I guess it's not as popular as I thought they were. And if you've never heard of one and you think it's a great idea, then maybe you can make one. So I'll leave the link for the icons down below. It's the only place on the internet that I've been able to find free icons. So I think there are other places out there that do the icons, but you have to pay for them. I'm not really sure. So you'd have to kind of do your own research if you wanted to look into that. The free ones were good enough for me, and then like I made a couple of my own icons just by grabbing clip art off the internet. So for things that didn't have icons, I just used clip art to make it work for me, because I guess you can call me cheap, but I just didn't see a need to have to like pay for icons, especially when somebody's taken the time to very nicely create lots and lots of icons available for free download. So yeah, that's all I have to go over today, which is nice because it's a fairly short video for me. I think, I don't want to make promises, but I'm pretty sure the next video I'm going to do is going to be on optimal fetal positioning, and basically what is the optimal fetal positioning if you want to go into if you want to have a natural birth, and things you can do to encourage your baby to get into an optimal position. You know, my baby's been in a really good position for quite a while, and I'm basically doing everything I can to keep it in that position. I will say, at 32 weeks, especially since I've been practicing this, definitely before 20 weeks. I'm not sure exactly when I started, like maybe around 18 weeks or so is when I started doing this. A bit ahead of the game. It's not really important to do until in your first birth. It's about 6 weeks before you're about to deliver. In any subsequent births, it's, you know, you could do it like you don't have to start practicing it until like 2 to 3 weeks before you're expecting to deliver. So, you know, if you're later on in your pregnancy and you're worried about your baby's positioning, unless you're very late in pregnancy, there's not much to worry about. You got plenty of time. I still have plenty of time. Like if my baby decided to flip around, I would still have plenty of time to try to get it to flip again. So not a big deal, but I am going to talk about it in probably my next video. I'm definitely going to talk about it in a video coming up, but I think that'll probably be my next topic. So I'm just throwing that out there. So if that's interesting to you, you can look out for that video. And that's all I have to say today. So bye. Yeah, that's it. Okay, bye. I'm not used to talking for such a short amount of time. I'm almost at 20 minutes, but that's short for me, so I don't know how to say goodbye. Bye. I knew I was forgetting something. So this is my 32-week belly from the front, and that's it from the side. And if you can see, I don't know how well it'll come up on camera, but these are the stretch marks. So I don't think that's so bad, because I don't know, sometimes they're a little bit darker than that, and sometimes they're so light that I can't even see them. So that to me is just like really not a big deal. You can see my linea nigra is coming up darker and darker with time as well. So there we go. That's my bump. Now I can say bye for like the 1000th time.